folks in the live audience already. Thanks for being here. Another member showcase. So glad that we do these, and I'm especially glad that today we have Melissa Shoemate joining us. I have some great and interesting questions for her. This next 30 minutes or so, we'll be talking. And again, I want to thank the folks that are in the live audience. Let's see, who do we have here? Chris is here, Nancy, Vina, thank you so much. Glad that you're here. So, Melissa, thank you, first of all, for being a supporter of TLDC and being part of the community. It's great to have you. And I'm really interested in your story. You are an RN case manager turned instructional designer, right?
Kind of, yes. I went to management, was the last thing I did before I went into learning and development.
Okay.
And I'm still aspiring to be an instructional designer. I don't know if I will ever be confident enough to say that I actually am one.
I actually hear that from veteran instructional designers, like some of them like incredibly adept at instructional design, still have no clue whether or not they're doing what is supposed to be, doing the work of an ID. And I'm sure that you are going to do wonderfully well as an instructional designer, and you're probably doing the work already. So tell us a little bit about your journey. How did your career began as a case manager, and then
yes, so I worked on the floor as a nurse, and then I had little kids at the time. I've been nursing since 2003.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be more available, so I came out to home health so I could be there more. Went to case management, did that for a long, long time. Then in 2017, I went into actually managing the branch, a couple of branches actually within Texas, Austin and San Antonio. But I found I really didn't enjoy the management part of it so much. I liked the teaching, and I just remembered, I forgot that I very much have a bad country accent. I don't know I'm doing it.
I don't think it's bad at all. I actually love it. I think
I hear my eyes, and I'm like, oh, I forgot about that.
No, it's
but
wonderful.
Yes, I learned that I really didn't like the part of having to do write-ups and performance improvement plans and things like that. If it would have been an actual improvement plan type thing, yes, but most employees just take that as a write-up. So I didn't enjoy that part of it. I enjoyed the being able to teach on how to do it. At the time, I worked for a very large home health organization that went from Texas all the way up to, I think, Connecticut. And one of the staff educators told me about an opening because she was going to be retiring, recommended me. I applied. They were kind enough to offer me the job, and that's whenever I got into it. But I still had never heard of instructional designer. I actually used to get annoyed when they would call us L&D because I am a nurse. So I'm like, that's labor and delivery.
Right. Yeah,
and I would get so aggravated at that.
Uh-huh.
But then the more I got into it, I learned, no, that's an actual field. This has been around for a long, long time. They didn't just invent it.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got into it. And then a short little snippet to where I am now is I was actually laid off last August. That's when I learned how much I don't know. It was so hard to get another job because I was very niched. Like I said, I'd been doing home health most of my nursing career. So I know that like the back of my hand. But I didn't know as much of the learning and development stuff like I should have. So this past year has been, I see these people, I'm heavy on LinkedIn. I see these people write these posts, thank you for the experience, blah, blah, blah. That is not at all how I felt the day I was laid off. I bawled my eyes out. I flipped out. But it actually, in the long run, ended up being really good because it showed me what I don't know. And it, I was freaking out. So I found this organization. It was actually the very first thing I found. And y'all were having a big, like a week-long thing where you were having just webinar after webinar all day long for the whole week. And so that's actually the very first thing I got into. I learned who Kara North was, and then that just set the ball rolling.
Well, that's all you need right there is just to know who Kara North is. So what didn't you know? What did you figure out? What did you find out that you needed to learn?
So at first, I would see all these job descriptions talking about articulate storyline,
Mhm.
and I had never used that. My company at the time didn't use that.
Mhm.
So I thought, well, gosh, I have to have this to be able to be in L&D. And I would talk to a few people. So through Kara, I met Jonathan Rock. He's
Mm.
amazing. And he was like, Melissa, you've got this. You've got the background. You don't have to know storyline. It's just a tool. And then when I was trying to figure out what else can I learn, then I learned who Tim Slade was. And so he talked to me, pretty much talked me off of a ledge a few different times. And so that is where I learned more about the theory behind learning and the
Mhm.
science. And I cannot think of her name for the life of me. I just recently ran across her, but she calls herself the pirate of learning.
Yeah, that would be Lauren Waldman, I think.
Yes, yes, her. And I just find it so interesting to learn all these things because, for the longest time, I just would talk at these people and be
Mhm.
frustrated. Well, why aren't they getting it? Well, because I'm just talking at them. And so as I learned more about learning theory and how brains work, I realized there's an actual science behind all this. Just because I know things doesn't mean that I'm qualified to go teach it to other people.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love it. That is so insightful, Melissa. It really is, and I think that it's something that a lot of folks need to hear. That are probably in a similar situation to where you're at. But knowing like being able to talk to Tim Slade is a big deal because Tim knows a whole heck of a lot, and to me, Jonathan Rock is one of the best in the business when it comes to storyline. He's so creative and such an interesting guy all around. So
Yes.
kudos to you for having connections to them. So how about some highlights of your journey? So, I mean, you've talked about meeting these folks. Is there anything else in particular that has really helped you as you've transitioned? Now, you're at the Centene Corporation. Looks like
Mm-hmm.
you've been there for since April of this year. You are a clinical trainer now. Getting to that point, is there anything that stands out for you?
Well, one other person that's I wanted to mention is I wrote her name down so I wouldn't forget. Dana, and I'm going to butcher the last name, Kocalis. Again, found her on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is so great, but her last name is Kocalis. We were talking one day, and she gave me the greatest tip because as I was trying to really beef up my skills, and I would make all these personal projects, I was focusing too much on how they looked, which was also driving me crazy. I was highly aware that I was doing that. And she gave me the best advice. She said that she took a graphic design course and she learned to actually build everything in black and white and then lay in all the extras. So that way your content is there.
That's
So
great.
honestly, for me, LinkedIn and getting to learn all these people has been the best. I wished I would have known about this when I first started in learning and development.
Right. And that's actually one of my questions too, is if there's anything you can go back to ask yourself, like what would it be? And that's usually, I mean, that's one of the primary reasons I like doing what I do for TLDC is because as a culture, just L&D is just core to its core. It's about sharing, right? And educating each other. And there's so many people willing to do that. And so it's really actually easy for me to operate within the space because so many people are just generous with what they've learned. So I'm glad that you're taking advantage of that. But you are actually a registered nurse, right?
Yes.
And so now as a clinical trainer, you take that knowledge, basically you're an SME, and you bring that to your ability to train. I mean, how much has that helped you in being able to educate others? Because, not all instructional designers are experts or have knowledge about the things that they're training in. But
It was
you do.
actually a hindrance at first because I did know so much. I don't mean that the way that sounds. I'm not like, all knowing. I'm not the Oz, but I'd been doing it for so long that I had gotten good at it. And I had been in management. So I remember as the manager being frustrated when my staff wouldn't know this or that. So when I would teach, I would want to give them every single thing I could so that way they could go out and conquer the world, which is exactly the exact opposite of what I have learned that you should do. I actually keep a Post-it somewhere. Here it is. That reminds me to don't get long-winded. Not everything is important, and to wrap it up,
Nice.
because you can't teach everything in one sitting. So that actually, I found being a SME actually was not good for me.
Mhm.
So in my new role, it's different from what I have done in the past. So I actually am not a SME right now. I'm still learning. I've been doing a ton of learning, and I can see now what it's like to be a learner. And I think that's actually really, really cool, for the fact that I'm a learner also within learning and development. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
It does. And I think, that is, I think that is absolutely an important part of the whole thing. I mean, all the instructional designers, the ones that I feel that are most passionate about this, are people that just love to learn, period. And I think just that need to continue learning about things also helps them create good training materials, because they're using their own experiences, bringing things in to be able to create things to help others. So absolutely, that's great. So wait, so you're not an S. What are you learning about now that is different?
So before, I worked in home health, which was a totally different beast. As a registered nurse, there were certain assessments and things like that that we would have to fill out, that
Mhm.
essentially the government wants you to fill out, and you had lots of compliance. So I knew that like the back of my hand. And where I'm at now is managed care. I don't really want to go too much into where I work at now, because they're very particular on me representing myself as them.
Mhm.
But they're managed care, which I've only been on the outskirts of. And now I actually am that managed care organization. So I'm having to learn the ins and outs of what managed care is required to do to satisfy the state rules and regs and things of that nature.
Mhm. So is there anything in particular in what you do as, say, a medical trainer that you think is not, that would be different from what, like, say, other instructional designers might do? Like, I know I can see, like, Cindy is in the audience right now. Cindy works for Belkin, who creates, like, a lot of incredible, like, computer accessories, technology accessories, just kind of different all around. Like, they create keyboards and mice and things like that. I have tons of Belkin products all around me. How would that be? How would it be different for you as a clinical trainer?
So
The
if
type
I
of
was
material.
doing more hands-on nursing, that would be more of what you're thinking of. So for example, my husband was actually, I think he's still on. He's the C. He's a paramedic. He's also what's called an FTO, a field training officer.
Okay.
So that is more where you're doing the hands-on care.
Okay.
Uh, and so that's where you're taking someone that has learned all this stuff from the book and actually applying it to a person.
Hmm.
So that part is a lot more different. And that's not something that I really do anymore. When I was still working what I called the field, because I would drive to patients' houses and I was a preceptor, that would be me teaching hands-on direct care.
Okay.
But now what I do is more the paperwork side of it, so to
Hmm.
speak. I mean, we still bring in, that you need to make sure that you're advocating for your patients. That's a huge thing in any healthcare organization. I don't care where you're at.
Hmm.
As a nurse in general, advocating for your patient is your number one priority. Um, so that's the most patient-centric stuff that I do, but more in my job, it's more, this is how you do the different forms, and here's how we meet this regulation, and it's more the back end of things. I hope
Interesting.
that makes sense.
It does. It does. Is your husband a trainer as well?
Yes, but like I say, he works in the field. He's a paramedic,
Right.
so he does the field training type stuff. And so, like, for example, not to bring him into all this, but like, he will get notes sent to him that he needs to QA, and then he'll discuss that with the different paramedics and EMTs, so that way he can show them, okay, you put this, we really want to do this instead. Or if it's like hands-on, like skills type thing. For example, in medicine, you can intubate somebody. That's where you stick the thing in someone's throat to breathe for them.
Mhm.
Well, I had a whole new appreciation for him because back in the day, I took what's called ACLS, and I learned I would break everybody's front teeth if that was my job. This is something he does all the time. He's great at it.
Yeah.
You would have no teeth if I did it. I
Wow.
never could get that skill, but so he will actually do the hands-on. Okay, this is what you look for. You want to look between the cords. That's what his type of job is.
Wow. Wow. Do you guys ever collaborate on things?
Yes and no. It's funny, nurses and paramedics, we're both hotheads. And so, he drives me crazy. I drive him crazy. But we all always tend to like marry each other. So I don't know why that is.
That is so interesting. Oh, wow. That is great. That's great. How about this? How about maybe a challenging project that you've had to deal with? And I think just specifically as you've been transitioning
Mhm.
into a different level of instructional designer, as you maybe over just the past year, something that has been particularly challenging to you that you can share.
Well, I know even at my last job, one of the most challenging things that we had there is we were revamping an already established training program that we had been doing,
Mhm.
but we realized it wasn't as engaging as it could be.
Mhm.
So trying to take something that was tried and true that I had taught what felt like, God, I felt like I had done it a million times. I could say it in my sleep. Trying to take that and just break it back down so that way we can make sure that we were engaging our learners and they're not off scrubbing a toilet somewhere rather than listening to you.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the harder things. Um, my very first project I remember that one being pretty intimidating because it was outside of my specialty. I was learning about a new rule that Medicare had come up with. And so I was having to build the whole PowerPoint for that. And it was the very first project they gave me.
Mhm.
That scared me to death. But I have found in any learning and development job I've had, or even when I've done personal projects just trying to learn, that's what I like so much about L&D. Very rarely do I meet someone who doesn't want to just help. I love that so much. Everyone is so like all the people I've met on LinkedIn, the people I've met through this organization, they always are like, hey, let me hop in and help. When
Mhm.
I am still learning Storyline, I've had to put it on hold for, because I'm trying to finish my bachelor's degree. Uh, but Jonathan, I talked about him earlier, he literally offered to hop on a call with me.
Mhm.
Uh, one guy, I had joined how do I put this? Because I don't want to be disparaging. I had joined a type of thing that was supposed to teach you how to do that, but once I joined, no one talked to me. And this guy happened to see my question in the group, and he offered to just hop on a call with me. Never had met me in his life, owed
Mhm.
me absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So I just think that's so great how L&D folks are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's part of the reason. I mean, it feels like consistently people are trying to lift each other up in this space.
Mhm.
And that's one of the reasons also why whenever we see somebody that is kind of pretending to do that, but instead might have, sort of financial interest in in trying to.
Unfortunately, I learned the hard way. I spent a
Mm.
lot of money on it, but it was a good thing still, just because I can be kind of naive and trusting.
Mhm.
Don't know if I should put that on the interwebs, but I can be. It's just my nature. But I learned, not everybody. You really need to vet anything that you're going to be paying money towards. And there's so many options out there that are completely free. It may take longer,
Mhm. Mhm.
but there's so many things out there that you can do in the meantime.
Yes. No, thanks. I'm glad you're mentioning that. And I'm sure that you'll come back around and you will pay it forward too. Like if
Hope
at some
so.
point you're going to turn around and like say, hey, this person is struggling and looking for help, um, I'll just offer to meet with them, and I do put these events on for free. And I'm glad that I have a membership thing that helps me fund all of it. But for the most part, it's like, this is not like a money-making opportunity. It's mostly to try to help everybody.
I mean, I don't mean this to sound awful, but this is the cheapest org membership I have. And I'm telling you, I've met so many people through this.
Yeah.
Through this channel. And it's just, no, I can, that's why I'm just so grateful.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever I got your email, I was like, this can't be real. But I talked to, again, Tim, and he's like, no, do it. Because it's just so great.
Yeah.
All the things that are out there.
No, that's great. I thank you. I love hearing that. It's good to hear. My thing is just more about impact. Is I want to make sure that there are people that are getting help when they need it. It's just, I like the community in, so much that I want to see people continue to succeed in it. And so, I do this. I
see in the chat, somebody put a link to free articulate tutorials. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, really? Let's see. Let's take a look. Mm-hmm. Love it.
I've heard of her too. I think Connie, I don't know how to say Connie's last name. Malamed. I think she has partnered with her before. Am I wrong?
Let's see. Who is that? Ashley. Oh, yeah. Ashley. Yeah, she's great. She has spoken at TLDC events in the past. Ashley is legit. She's really, really good. Yeah, she's a good one to follow and keep an eye on. Excellent. So speaking of all that, like for you go to LinkedIn is to stay up to date on things, to network. Mm-hmm. Any other ways that you keep a track on tools and what's the latest and greatest in L&D? Is there anything that you do for that?
So I reached out to, after I found your org, I reached out to my former VP of Learning and Development. She and I our whole department essentially was eliminated. So she knew where I was coming from, and she directed me to ATD. Mm-hmm. Then again, through Kara, I met Tim. So I'm part of the e-learners. I can't remember the full title of it, but
I don't either. Yeah, no, they have a community too. Tim has a community.
Yes, I can't believe I can't think of the name of it. I have his book and everything.
Yeah,
e-learning designers
community, e-learning designers community.
Yes.
Yeah.
My big goal for 2024 is I want to be able to go to some of the actual learning conferences. Mm-hmm. It's just between trying to get a new job, paying for school. I haven't been able to, but that's one of my goals. But again, not shameless plug. I know for a fact that y'all can get lots of webinars through this org. It's literally how I got my start learning all the things, because I only knew the basics. This org is really what got me going. So I'm forever grateful.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. And I'm planning more. There is a big event happening this week that is through Growductive Consulting and Black and L&D. I mean, Mallory.
I saw that Steele. Yeah.
Yes, and she has. I mean, she's using the TLDC platform. I offered it to her. I didn't realize that she was going to get 1,000 people registered, which that's how many people registered. And then it's ended up I'm having to sort of like change the schedule for some future events because it was so popular. But those are all free. And she has, I think it was 54 sessions and 70 speakers, which is absolutely insane. Yeah, I told her that that was probably a little too much, but she just said, I have to do it anyway. So there is that, and as, if you can register for it, you can get access to the recordings, I believe, afterwards. So, those are all free as well. So, so keep that in mind. No, but thanks, Melissa. I really appreciate you continuing to give us this famous.
I don't mean to go on and on. I just wish you knew how grateful I was, because I want this so bad.
Yeah.
Even though I'm quote unquote back in L&D, mm-hmm. I still just want it. I don't want to lose it again. I was devastated when I lost it.
Okay. Well, if you do, I know that J-Rock is probably going to be a DevLearn in Las Vegas in the fall. You and your husband can go. You'll see Tim there because Tim always speaks at that event. So keep that in mind for in October, I think is when it's going to be. But let me ask you a couple questions and we'll wrap things up. Okay. If you weren't an L&D professional and could have whatever career of choice that you wanted, what would it be?
Now, I've been thinking on that. I honestly don't know because I've always been in a job where I served others. Um, and I know that's so freaking cheesy, but I just really do like to help.
Yeah.
Again, back to my husband. What happened? Did I go dead?
No, I can still hear you. You're
Oh,
good.
that's so weird. My whole screen went black, so I can't see y'all. But
Okay.
he's in a band, and so I do their social media, and I have learned that I really kind of like doing the marketing and stuff for their social media. So I might would go into something like that.
What is your husband's band's name?
It's called Bulletproof.
Bulletproof.
Hmm.
And from Texas. And
Yes. So, like,
okay.
if you're on Facebook, it would be Bulletproof Paris, I think is how it actually is on there. And then you can see all the things that I do on the side
Excellent.
when I'm
Okay.
not in school or at work.
I'm gonna look it up because I'm in a band too, and I could use social media help. So I'll probably
Ugh,
get some
their
tips in
their
there.
country, which is not something he normally thought he would ever be in, but they have so much fun. He
That's
normally
great.
was a Van Halen metal type
Mm,
guy,
there you
so we
go.
just love any music.
Yeah, I'm doing an '80s cover band that is getting really really busy. So
Oh,
um,
how fun!
it is. It's a lot of fun. It's crazy. Okay, here is my last question for you.
Yes.
And it is, if there's one thing that people should know about you, Melissa, what is it?
Oh God, I don't know. I know that you actually told me you were going to ask me that, and
Mhm.
I've been racking my brain.
I like to ask that question because
I think I'm
I think,
boring, honestly. I'm the most
uh,
boring person in the world. Here's some people are always shocked to hear that I'm an introvert because I've been
mhm,
talking to you this whole time,
mhm,
but I'm A, behind a screen. Fun fact, I already kind of knew some of the stuff he would ask me so I could be prepared.
yeah.
But like small talk, not in my wheelhouse. Absolutely not.
Mhm,
Can't do it. Uh, so I actually am an introvert, but being behind a screen and being able to work remotely, that's one of the things I love about this job too. So
mhm,
I just read books. I go to school. I go to work. My kids are in their 20s, so I'm not even like full on parenting anymore.
mhm, mhm.
There's not much to me anymore. That's the hardest question because I'm just kind of boring.
That's really interesting. It is interesting to me. I do wish that I would know, like, if there was one thing about you that maybe your husband should be answering that question in chat. Oh, but he's actually not even logged in anymore. That
Oh,
guy,
he must have
Chris.
gotten a call.
Oh, thanks, Chris. Okay. Well, hopefully have him watch the end of the recording and
I
then
know.
we can
Gosh, I
build
wish
him
I
out
could
on
come
it.
up with something. I just so that's the one question that actually stressed me out because I couldn't think of an answer of what's something to know about me.
Oh, I hear you. I can tell you, Melissa, I'm the same way. I am an introvert. Um, I cannot, I mean, doing this on a regular basis is, I'm only doing this because it's sort of out of desperation because I could not find anyone else to do it and could not pay anyone else to do it. And so that's why I do this. But I really do feel like I am an introvert. My wife is different. She is more of an extrovert and is kind of, she is like the party. Whenever we're in a crowd, everyone is like trying to, talk to her and be around her. And I'm the person that is like hiding behind the curtain, waiting until everyone is gone. And
See, I'd love to say that I was that, but I don't know if it's the nurse in me. I don't know, but I'll be the life of the party at the time. And then I'm
Mhm.
completely exhausted. I tell my husband that I feel like a circus monkey, that I'm like, do, 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 do,
Yeah. Well, that is definitely
juggling.
yeah, that's the sign of an introvert as well. Definitely, you just need
It's
to recuperate.
exhausting.
Hmm. Well, gosh, Melissa, it was so great talking to you. I'm so glad that we were able to do this. I really appreciate you. Sorry, everybody. I'll have to tell you, I was just a little bit late. We had some technical problems in the beginning, but Melissa persevered and stuck with it, and we were able to start this one and have a great broadcast. Where can everyone find you, Melissa? Can I post your LinkedIn URL in the chat
Yeah.
so that people can connect with you?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm heavy on LinkedIn. Normally I would be on there even more, but I'm just so busy right now. I'm trying to finish statistics. I literally put that off till the very end. That's the fun fact. I hate math unless it's dosage calculations.
Mm-hmm,
So I'm very busy right now, but yeah, that's the best place.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Melissa. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Don't forget, that event that is happening in AirMeet is going now. I don't know if you're not already registered, you probably can't get in because it's sold out. But it was a free event. But it is happening. Hopefully, they'll be able to release the recordings after everything is done. And you can check that out. And stay tuned with TLDC because we do have AIDC on the schedule, which is our accessibility, inclusion, and diversity conference. That is going to happen next month. After that, we have another one that is being put together now, from teaching to L&D, and I'm also trying to put together one on put another one together that's on ChatGPT and AI, and what's happening in instructional design with that. So that'll be all coming up, and that I'm going to go ahead and just close out the broadcast, Melissa. It was great talking to you.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being here, and that's it. All right. See you later.